My name is Philip Hensler, and I'm your co-host for today's PATS Technology Committee podcast. We wanted to start a conversation with the members of the athletic training community in Pennsylvania in the hopes to encourage and foster relationships within the state. Today, I want to thank our guest, Nate Nestor, for taking some time out and talking about athletic training with us. So Nate is an athletic trainer in the state of Pennsylvania. He's been certified for 6 years. Nate, how's it going?
Hey, what's going on, Phil? Thanks for having me.
So let's start from way far back. How did you get to this point in your career? Where did your athletic training career start?
So like most kind of athlete in high school, fell in love with the profession. Went to school in the state of Pennsylvania here, Shippensburg University, and then ended up transferring to Messiah, where I did finish my undergrad. After I graduated, I spent 2 years working at West Perry High School as the sole athletic trainer for the middle school and high school there. I was through a clinic, CPRS physical therapy. After those 2 years, I had the opportunity to go back to Messiah College and work in their athletic department. That was also outsourced through CPRS physical therapy. And then after those 2 years, I had the opportunity to come back to Dickinson College, where I did my senior football collision sport assignment with Adam Richmond. And him and I have stayed very close. He's been a close mentor of mine. So I jumped on the opportunity to come work beside him here at Dickinson.
Adam Richmond, that sounds like a very familiar name. I think we might have Adam with us today as our other co-host. Adam, how's it going?
Good, Phil. How are you?
I'm doing good. So
Hey.
Nate, what was your deciding factor to get into athletic training? Like what was that start? We all kind of had it. You kind of mentioned it a little bit, but what was it?
So growing up, I always found interest in math and science, kind of human body. My mom was a nurse, and I was always kind of inquisitive of the human body and A&P and all that stuff. Originally thought I wanted to do physical therapy. Did a couple rotations at a PT clinic, and I didn't like the environment of having one patient at a time. It was kind of slow for me. And so I had the opportunity to take an athletic training course my sophomore year of high school with Bob Wolf at Cumberland Valley High School, and kind of opened my eyes to the world of athletic training and what you can do with it. It was along the lines of physical therapy, but had more of my interests in kind of more fast-paced, that sideline care, with the mixture of the ability to do rehab and help people along both that mental, physical journey. Once I kind of dove into athletic training in college, it kind of solidified that is what I wanted my career to be.
Cool.
Great.
Go for it, Adam.
Nate, thanks again for joining us today. I was curious. So, what you say you currently work at Dickinson College? Can you just tell us a little bit about what a typical day looks like for you?
Yeah, the typical day can vary pretty greatly throughout the seasons. In the fall, my primary responsibility is football, which is a fairly demanding sport, especially, even at the Division III level. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is our practice days. So I'll get in about noon, 1 o'clock, do treatment, rehab sessions, appointments with athletes. Around 3:30, 4 o'clock is when the busy hour, rush hour gets down. That's when most of the athletes are coming in to get their tape, their last minute treatments before practice. Out the door to practice, finish up around 7:30 or so. If there are non-traditional practices, one of the other athletic trainers and I will kind of split those throughout the week. So I might hang out until 9:30, 10. Some nights, as soon as football is over, I get to head home. Friday's walkthrough, Saturday game day, we travel. We have the benefit of having 2 certifieds travel to away games, as well as having 2 certifieds on the sideline and home games. That's been a valuable asset and something I haven't had working football in past situations. Sunday is injury clinic, Monday is doctor clinic. So it's a 7-day-a-week gig during the football season. But I think we do a good job within our staff of not overwhelming anyone. And yes, it's not necessarily a day off, but there's shorter days involved there. And we do a good job of getting home to see my family and things like that as well. Winter, I have women's basketball. We don't have as many sports going in the winter. So a day might be 12 to 7. It might be 12 to 5. It might be 10 to 5 if there's meetings and whatnot. And then spring, I'm back outside for women's lacrosse, which is kind of that more traditional 1 to 7, 1 to 8, sometimes 9 o'clock, depending on those non-traditionals. Summer, best part of athletic training is June 1st to July 31st. I can disappear, go on vacation, see the world. It's a great thing.
Yeah, so you got to see the world a little bit last summer, right? Can you tell us a little bit about where you're traveling at?
Yeah, this past summer, made my first trip abroad. It was an interesting trip, both in-laws, my wife, my parents. We flew to Paris, France, and spent a couple days there. Then we flew down to Nice, spent a couple days there. French Riviera was amazing. Highly recommend it to anyone. Jumping off cliffs into the Mediterranean, it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. My dad and my father-in-law and I really enjoy motorcycles. And then so we rented some motorcycles, some BMWs in Nice, rode through the French Alps into Italy, and then back from Italy into France, rode along some kind of glacier lakes, and then back down to the coast in Nice. It was a 3-ish day motorcycle trip, covered roughly 500 miles. It was incredible. The best way to see Europe is by road, by car. Flying is quick, but you can find so many interesting little towns, interesting people, have some great conversations past the language barrier.
Nice.
So that's your favorite part of the job. What do you find that is less favorable about the current job that you have?
So I think this is going to be common across a lot of the people that you speak to. It's kind of the lack of control when it comes to scheduling. Usually it's coaches say, hey, this is when we're practicing. And not a lot of them ask, hey, what are you doing on this Sunday? Or what are you doing this time? Does a morning practice work better for you? It's kind of just, hey, this is my schedule. This is what's going on. And they may have their athletes or their assistant coaches in mind, but they don't think that, hey, we have 3, 4, 5 sports that we're also taking care of. And so it'd be nice to be consulted every once in a while with regards to that scheduling.
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like that's a big piece for athletic training, right? Like just not having that control. It's not necessarily even the long hours. It's the not knowing when those long hours are going to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
I find that very frustrating as well. So yeah, I feel you on that, Nate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when your wife or family's planning stuff and they say, hey, we want to do this get together on Saturday. And I say, well, I have a game. Oh, when is it over? Depends if it goes in overtime.
No
Depends
idea.
if we run the ball, if we pass the ball a lot. So it's just the unpredictability.
Yeah, the unpredictability, or you do actually think you have a day off and you plan something, and then the coach decides last minute to change it.
Oh, by the way.
You never get to, or you don't even get the memo and they don't even tell you, and then you get a phone call during the practice, hey, where are you at?
Yep. Yeah, I think we've all been there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But there are the good parts of athletic training as well, like we talked about. So yeah. Nate, why don't you tell us a little bit, what was your most memorable injury or most memorable moment? What's a highlight? Let's get away from the negatives and let's get back to the good parts of athletic training. Like what is one of the coolest experiences you've had as an athletic trainer?
Wow. I've had a lot of cool experiences being in 3 different settings early on in my career here. I've been the benefit of being part of a national championship when I was working at Messiah, both as a student and then when I was back there working as a certified national championships with both of those. Been a part of playoff runs, been a part of teams. My first job, we didn't win a football game for 2 straight years. So I've kind of been all across the board of the bottom of the barrel to the mountaintop. But memorable experience was probably the very first football game of my career. It was an away game. First quarter, first time I had been on the field by myself. I see the kid go down. He's kind of writhing in pain. I run out there. Hey, what's going on? He says, I broke my ankle. I said, what's going on? He said, it was facing the wrong way. I messed up my ankle. And he was completely calm about the whole situation, which made it a lot easier. Being that it was a heightened sense, because I had never been on the field by myself evaluating something. And so we got EMS out there, we splinted him, we sent him, and he did have a fractured dislocated ankle. So that was my first time on the field. Was a fairly significant injury. And that was kind of when I realized, I can kind of handle these things, because during it, everything was kind of just on autopilot. It definitely helped that he was very calm, just talking to me, just, hey, I know I'm done this season, but I can get surgery and I can come back. So I'm a junior. I still got another year left. And I still remember our conversation like it was yesterday. And it was 6 years ago, but it was definitely stuck with me. Realized that, we talk about these things. Yes, they do happen, not all that often, but I know I can handle it. I know I can move on. About 2 weeks later, I had a ulna sticking through the skin. I had a compound fracture from a cross-country runner whose mom made him quit football because he had too many injuries. And they were playing capture the flag in the woods, and he got pushed, fell down on the ground, and ulna popped right through the skin. And that was another one of those times where, we're 3-4 weeks into my career at this point, and I've had a fractured dislocated ankle and a compound fracture of a forearm there. And once again, kind of went on autopilot. Things went well, and then afterwards, you when that adrenaline wears off, you realize, wow, like those are things you don't see all the time. But review the situation, move on, especially early in that career. I would call kind of some of my mentors, hey, this is what happened, this is what I did. Like, what do you think? And realize that I was in the right field.
Yeah, that's awesome. Those are some good stories. Definitely memorable. I don't think you'll ever forget either of those.
No, definitely not.
Crazy that happened so early in your career. Talk about just shaking the cobwebs off and like trial by fire, like literally.
Yep, sink or swim.
For sure.
That's awesome. How has I guess we're going to get a little deeper here. How's your career as an athletic trainer evolved through the 6 years, or even back in undergrad when you were kind of starting out? You said you were doing PT. How's your career evolved?
Each place I've been able to kind of take a little bit more from. So initially, as a new grad, I think those quick evaluation skills of knowing, is this something major that I need to refer on? Is it something I can handle in-house? What's going on? You're not going to fix the world your first year out. Yeah, it's trial by fire. You're trying to sink or swim. So having that experience where I was on my own, had to trust my decisions, and learn through success and failure of what it meant to evaluate, make those appropriate referrals, and grow from there. I did find that I was not able to do a lot of rehab in that setting, just due to the workload and the hours of what was going on there. And so the next spot that I was at, Messiah, I got to get a little bit more involved in the rehab aspect. All of the other athletic trainers were dual appointments. They were both professors and athletic trainers. I was the only full-time clinical. So I was the friendly face. When other athletes came down, they knew they would always at least see me there, usually someone else, but I would be kind of the staple there. So I got to get fairly involved in the rehab process and kind of work that through. And switching from the model that the traditional, hey, we have this knee injury, let's rehab this knee injury, to, hey, I have this knee injury, but this patient is also a person, and maybe there's something going on in the mental aspect that we need to address that, where instead of crushing this rehab again today, which we haven't been successful in a week, maybe we go have a cup of coffee and we just talk about life and fix some of those things. And then we're able to come back and have a lot more success in this physical. And now my situation where I am at Dickinson College, it's much more performance-based rehab, which is kind of where my true passion lies within athletic training, of not only just taking this injury, but following them throughout this training process into the performance aspect and then seeing it on the field. I've been able to take over the women's basketball off-season programming, and I have about 75% of women's lacrosse strength and conditioning off-season program as well. So being able to get involved in those and then seeing the fruits that breed throughout the season is a pretty cool aspect. It's a pretty cool thing.
That's great, Nate. Could you maybe just talk to us a little bit about how you got involved in the performance side of things? Maybe some certifications or continuing education stuff that you've been passionate about that has kind of led you down that road?
Yeah. Early on, it started when I was at West Perry and wasn't able to do a ton of rehab, which was one of my passions coming out of school. And so I decided I wanted to have a strength conditioning program over the summer. I knew that I didn't have a ton of knowledge or application at the beginning to do that. So I started seeking out mentors and courses. You obviously one of my mentors, having a performance-based approach. I remember sitting down with you, having some conversations about, hey, these are all these kind of advanced concepts we have, how do I plug these in here? And you kind of talking and like, hey, you got to keep it simple. Remember, these are high school athletes, their training age isn't all that high. Let's keep it simple. Pointing me towards some great resources. I've gone to Eric Cressy's facility. He's a baseball strength conditioning professional. I've gone to his facility up in Massachusetts and down in Jupiter, Florida. I've had the benefit of going out to the physical preparations summit out in Indianapolis, Indiana, as part of IFAS, the Indianapolis Fitness and Sports Training Seminar. Podcasts from various people, John O'Neill, one of my good friends. He was actually the best man at my wedding, but he is the director of performance up at Cressy Sport Performance. Different books that I've read have led me to that performance model. So I kind of started there with that summer program at West Perry, got a little more involved in the coaching aspect when I was at Messiah College. I went to California University of Pennsylvania. I did their online master's program, which gave me a performance enhancement specialist. Letters after your name, degrees, certifications, they're really cool, but it's basically a indication that you know the basics. Certifications don't mean that you're this great professional. They're that you have this basic knowledge, you've passed this test. Now, how do you take that knowledge and apply it in these individual settings? And that was kind of the growth between the initial, hey, I have this basic stuff, let's experiment, use a little anecdotal experience at West Perry. Okay, now I have more of the science background from the certification at Messiah. Let's try it a little bit more, see how we apply some more of these advanced concepts. And now at Dickinson, having the broader idea of having both those experiences, how do I blend them together and how do I continue to grow as a professional?
Awesome. Yeah, no, I love that approach. Obviously, very like-minded professional, trying to take it from the rehab to performance. So I love hearing that from other people as well.
I want to call a little attention to something you had said a little bit earlier, how you treat the person. It's not necessarily about the injury that they have now. It's about them as an athlete, as a human being. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of times people don't understand about athletic training. We have that ability to treat somebody at a fundamental level and not just take care of an injury, but help them through everything. I just think that's just something really cool about athletic training.
Yeah, we have instituted partly NCAA mandates that I think by next year all schools have mental health screening. We jumped on board this year and I think have a very solid mental health policy for screening. But everybody talks about screening and doesn't talk about what do you do follow up after that. So that's kind of where our policy has tried to evolve, is what do we do after that? And having that screen in the beginning of the year, especially this year, has allowed us to open up some conversations with athletes and get them some more professional help if they needed, or at least just open that conversation with them here in the athletic training room, set up meetings and things with them of letting them know, like, we care about you more than an athlete. Like, we do care about your person. We care about the mental health. We understand college is extremely stressful. Stress is cortisol. It can manifest itself in a variety of ways in the body. So we need to make sure we're having a mind-body approach, not just, hey, you hurt your ankle, you're the ankle kid. So.
You're having good success with student athletes taking advantage of the program and everything like that?
Yeah, we have. We weren't sure what
Awesome.
type of response we would have early in the year. With kind of massive baseline screening, we thought a bunch of kids would blow it off. But in a massive baseline screening, when kids are still willing to answer yes or no to these various questions, and reach out and basically say, like, I could use some help here. And a lot of them did not know we had available resources here on campus, or what
Okay.
exactly was available to them, or that the fact that they only sleep 3 hours every single night, they didn't realize that was an issue. So it's allowed us to open up conversations in a variety of aspects of life. So,
That's awesome. That's an
yeah.
awesome program to have. That's awesome. Um, do you have any advice? What would be one piece of advice you'd give a young professional? Something that maybe you didn't have when you started out, that you've learned throughout the years, something that you can pass on to the next level of athletic training.
Yeah. The biggest thing that I try to tell the students that I serve as a preceptor for is getting involved, asking questions, but doing it from a lens of not what do I get out of this experience, but what can I leave? Like, what piece of me can I leave here? That, I think, is the approach that you should have. Like, when you leave an environment, people should say, "Oh, where was Adam? Where was Phil? Like, oh, I really miss them. What are they up to?" If you have that lasting impact, you know you made the most of that experience. If people don't know that you're missing, then you probably had a you-focused experience there, and we're just trying to soak everything up. You're kind of being a vampire from that experience. You will learn no matter what the experience is. Try to give back to that as well.
That's awesome.
That's brilliant.
That's awesome.
It was deep, man. That was deep. I didn't know you could go there. That was good. I like it. All right. Well, that wraps up some of our deeper questions. We're gonna go into like a little bit of like a lightning round where it comes some quick questions. You can take as long as you want to answer them, or they can be a little bit more brief in this section. Yeah, so let's start out with obviously you love your job here at Dickinson. You get to work with me every single day, so that's obviously a positive. Realistically, what would be a dream job for you as an athletic trainer?
Dream job for me has changed throughout the years. Originally, I thought I wanted to be D1 SEC football. Um, Talked to some athletic trainers, just kind of cold called them. Hey, what's your day-to-day look like? What do you do here in these situations? And kind of realized that I wouldn't be able, some of my personal life goals did not fit within that D1 football model. And so I kind of had to change things around. Currently, I am very happy at Dickinson College. I don't have any plans to leave here. But I think a dream job for me would be combining education, strength and conditioning, and athletic training. So if I could be within the role that I am here, plus do a little bit more of the education side of things. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but that is my true passion. Sharing the knowledge that I have, continuing to learn, educating others, and then that performance-based athletic training model.
Awesome.
Nate, what do you like to do for fun?
What do I like to do for fun? I like to play. I play in a couple adult pickup leagues with Harrisburg Young Professionals. I play flag football. I play lacrosse. I was a lacrosse athlete in college, so I still play in a men's league. I ride motorcycles, go on vacations in the summer. I just like to live life. I mean, we don't know how long we're going to be here. Try to make the most of it. So
There we go. There we go.
Nice. So Nate, going back to a little bit deeper again, but what inspires you? What makes you tick?
That's I'd say for me, I don't like to be wrong. I hate being wrong. I hate losing. I hate failure. So that's probably what drives me most is whenever I don't succeed, whenever I fail, it makes me go back to the drawing board. Now, what went wrong in this that I didn't succeed? What did I do wrong in this? How can I learn from it? How can I grow? And then it usually finds down rabbit holes of various educational whatever that I might pick some pieces out of, and then come back and kind of look at the successes. So failure is probably what inspires me to continue to grow and get better. But the success of others, seeing somebody have a completely different approach to the same situation and have success, once again, is a learning opportunity. It's one of those, I would have handled that differently, but they had success. So let me go quiz their brain and why did that work for them? What was their thought process? So knowledge is passion.
Nice.
What does being an athletic trainer mean to you?
Being an athletic trainer, it means fun, honestly. I love my job. I think it's one of the greatest ones in the world, despite all the things that we love to complain about hours and whatnot. Like, I would take these hours and the experience over sitting in a cubicle working 9 to 5. And like, we complain about our pay, but same thing. Like, yes, our pay is not great. Yes, our hours aren't great, but the amount of joy that I get out of the profession from constantly challenging myself every day of every person's injury is different. The same ankle sprains aren't going to heal the same way between two people. Even the same person injuring it probably isn't going to heal the same way. So the constant problem solving that you have to do, all the relationships that you form with athletes, with their parents, with your colleagues, your coworkers, the coaches. I love people. I'm an extrovert. So relationships with people, just the fun that you can have and the problem solving every day.
That's awesome. And what other profession do you have where you can take off time in the summer to go tour Europe on a motorcycle? And that's that's crazy.
Right?
Can't even comprehend that. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you guys for having me today. So I really enjoyed the opportunity coming on here to speak with you guys. Hopefully some people can hear this, maybe have some like stories. If you
Thanks for being our test bench. Adam, if for everyone out there listening, Nate is our first guest for this series. So he was the one that drew the short straw, so to speak, to so we can kind of shake out all the tech issues. Nate, how can people get a hold of you if they want to follow up or have questions other than leaving comments?
So on Twitter, you can find me at Nestor Nate, NESTERNATE. And I don't post a ton other than retweeting other people, but you can reach me there in the comment section. You can also find me on Instagram at the same exact Nestor Nate. Feel free to reach out, comment, post, like. I'll try to be a little more active here on social media in the near future.
Yeah, we'll make sure we get that in the comments in the section below.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nate, for joining us today. Spending a little bit of time and sharing your story with us. Thank you to our viewers for listening in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this podcast, and hopefully we'll be able to put out some more very interesting podcasts with some very interesting athletic trainers throughout the state of Pennsylvania. Until next time, this is Adam Richmond, and Phil, you want to outro yourself?
I'm Philip Hensler. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think about this new format, topics that you want us to cover, things like that. And we will see you next time.
See you.